So the conversation that I'm having kind of with myself today, so I figured that it's like I talk to myself, but I can talk to someone, so I'll talk to whoever you are watching this, is the invitation really to find the sweet spot. And this is regarding yoga, but yoga could really be anything for you. Yoga sometimes is just another word that could describe your life, because those of you that are yogis or have dived into yoga at all, you know that yoga ultimately is relationship that you have not just with yourself on the yoga mat, but really that you have with everything. So in your practice, and what I'm going to be talking about in the last couple classes I'm teaching here in Michigan before I head to Asia, is about finding the sweet spot. And one of the things that I think is really important to talk about when we talk about finding the sweet spot is the language, the verbiage, and the label of even just that phrase, the sweet spot. Because for me, I found it very beneficial, and it's helped me kind of climb up mountains that I thought were very high and very tall and very hard to get to the top. It's helped me summit and climb over a lot of them by learning how important the label that you put in place on something is. So I want to use verbiage in a yoga class. I try to be very conscious of this, and it irks me a little bit when I take classes and the teacher says things like, this is really hard, or this is really uncomfortable, or I know you really don't like this, because there's so much power, and that's a huge assumption that maybe it's not hard, and maybe it's not discomforting, and maybe they really like it. But you're trying to label then the experience in a form of a negative connotation, because most people, when they hear the word hard or like uncomfortable, it's edgy, it brings up kind of negativity. It doesn't sound like positive and light, like when you hear find the sweet spot or find the sweet place in the pose. So I say sweet, that doesn't mean that it's like only kittens and roses. The sweet spot is the spot that you find, and it's like constantly in your practice. It's like playing hide and seek. I play hide and seek a lot right now with our daughter, and it's really fun. But it's like playing hide and seek with you. It's going to change. It's going to hide. You're going to have to, in your practice, work really hard and get really curious to keep finding the sweet spot. And to me, the verbiage is sweet, because change, the good change that you want in your life, not just in a yoga pose, like not just greater extension or deeper back bend or more strength or stability in a pose, right? My hair is like ridiculous. Anyway, I'm trying to grow out my being, so it's a really awkward stage here. But the sweet spot is the spot for you where more opens. It's like it's a portal, more expands, something that you weren't aware of at that moment or for a certain period of time, now you become privy to. And this is why I say this doesn't just apply for a yoga practice, because finding the sweet spot in your life is just as important as finding the sweet spot in your yoga practice in an asana. The other thing that I wanted to talk about that I'm curious about, and that I see for myself, but I see for a lot of people, why they don't live their most epic life. Well, really why we don't is there's fear. There's fear of failure, there's fear that you won't be good at it, there's fear that you'll aim for it and you won't get it, there's fear that you don't deserve it, there's fear of what other people think. I mean, the list probably could go on and on and on, and you could have all those reasons and then many, many more. But underlying reason why, if you're not living life exactly the way you want to be living it, which I would venture to say a lot of you, that would be your answer, it's because you're afraid. And so how do we conquer fear? How do we move through fear? How do we get past fear, right? Well, for a lot of us, this is one of the reasons why we practice yoga, because we do get stronger. We do learn lessons in the sweet spot. We do also start to recognize that whatever was that label at one time, and this is why I say it's the sweet spot, maybe at one time in your life the sweet spot wasn't. Maybe it was the salty spot, and you did not like it, and it was very uncomfortable, and you did not like feeling vulnerable, or you did not like feeling your weakness, or you did not like feeling failure, like you tried to get somewhere and you couldn't get there, right? Or you kept trying to let's say nail handstand, you keep falling, and then at some point, if you keep practicing and you can't get it, like you feel you're sad, right? Or you're angry, or you're upset, or depressed, or you're whatever. So it stays not sweet because it's salty for you, or it's like defeating for you, or even it's like masochistic for you. But you keep doing it for some reason. You persevere, which is a huge part about yoga and the discipline of yoga and the dedication of yoga. That if you keep practicing, this is like the promise the yogis make, I'll make for you, because I believe it and I found it to be true in myself and in others. But if you keep practicing and you keep persevering, you will start to recognize that it's actually not salty. And even if you don't get what you think you wanted, like whatever the destination was, the peak pose, or the space in your body, or I don't know, the enlightened like thing that you thought you were going to get, even if you don't get that, at some point you'll change your perspective and you'll recognize that being vulnerable is a strength. Falling down makes you stronger. Challenging yourself and being uncomfortable allows you to appreciate and relish in more comfortability, and even best case scenario is start to enjoy being uncomfortable because you see the potential and the growth. So someone brand new to yoga, and again, I don't want to label your experience because this may or may not be true for you, but someone brand new to yoga might not think it's a sweet spot to have a teacher kind of push them to that place. And over time, they'll start to understand and they'll start to get curious that the sweet spot is sweet, because it's where there's growth and where there's potential. And back to the fear component, that is the place where you can like push your limits to start to rub up against your empowerment piece. That ultimately, for me, what I've learned is that's the piece that helps me move out of my fear, because fear is ultimately illusion, and illusion is just another way of saying like it got created or implanted in your mind. Maybe someone implanted it, but you chose to let it stick, or you implanted it. Either way, it doesn't really matter. For some reason, most of us walk around with all these fears that are implanted in our head as like real truths. And you have to empower yourself on your own journey to start to recognize that these fears, they were man-woman made, and they're only real if you give them the energy to believing that they're real. And if you're willing to be less and less afraid and just start to take little steps, or maybe huge steps, maybe a big leap is what you need. It's different for everybody. Some people, you're going to start little steps because it's too scary to just like quit your job and travel the world, or like open your own yoga studio, or I don't know, pose like a naked photo of yourself, whatever it would be. I have no idea, but you might have to take little steps rather than big steps. But every time you take a big step or a little step into fear, and maybe you fall or you fail or it doesn't work out, you keep learning the lesson that the vulnerability is great, is brilliant, and it's not really a big deal. It's like a baby learning how to walk and falling. Yeah, maybe there's sometimes they fall and they kind of cry and they get a little hurt, or their ego gets a little bruised. But if it happened a couple times and they were like, oh man, screw this, like I'm never gonna learn how to walk, then none of us would learn how to walk. We fell all the time. And at some point, what we started to learn was, wow, it wasn't that bad. Or even better yet, you fall or you do whatever you think is failing. So you're afraid to do this, you try it, you fail. You learn, well, it really wasn't that scary. And then what'd you learn about the failure? Or what'd you learn about yourself? Even just trying to follow your dreams and live an epic life is going to lead you more into the path where your higher self, your divine being, because that's what you are, wants you to do in this life. Like if you're just sitting at a desk or an office or various other things that you could be doing for your job that you hate, why are you doing that? Who knows how long you're going to live? Who knows how long this reality, this new reality we're in, who knows how long it's going to last? Mother Earth, she's kind of sick. No one, globally in the sphere of like the social governmental world recognizes that. We don't know. Everything's impermanent. But your soul's impermanent. You'll leave your body. Your soul is not impermanent. You'll leave this impermanent body and your soul will go on and have glorious adventures, and this will just be like one little piece. So since it is one little piece, take chances to do cool stuff. You have that dream, start to make a big step or a little step to do it, because why the fuck not? Like, what are you really waiting for? You're waiting for an invitation? You're waiting for someone to hand it to you on a silver platter? That probably won't happen. You do it. And the thing is even if you're in some sort of karmic situation where it is being handed to you on the silver platter, it won't be nearly as enjoyable as the person that creates their own reality, creates their own karma, creates their own fortune, creates their own enlightenment. Because the person that does it themselves, for themselves, is a really empowered person. And that person is a good friend. That person is good for planet Earth. That person is good for humanity. That person is the type of person we need you to be. I'm trying really hard to be that person every day, and I do things that scare me because I have to power myself. So I challenge you, or I invite you to just find that sweet spot and to walk over your fear, your hurdles, and let me know how it's going, and maybe we can start some sort of group or something. I don't know. I'm going to think about this more in Asia, and I'm going to do more of these, not in like my car, because this is like my weird alone time where I think. In Asia, it's going to be in jungles. So, all right, love you.